Good day, fellow scapers. My name's Dick, but please call me Hobo, and welcome back to my channel. So as many of you may already know, I absolutely love PVM, but I'll be damned if I was always capable of taking on endgame bosses like Hobo, Kerapak, Zamorak, and the list goes on. It took a little bit of time and quite a few unlocks, which have really helped me to get to where I am today, as well as some which I've only unlocked very recently, and I have been kicking myself about not getting round to it sooner. Now, this kind of guide will be for people who are just getting into bossing, or maybe for those looking to push themselves a little bit more to take on a harder challenge with some of RuneScape's bosses. So if you're one of those people, please let me take you on some more of my RuneScape misadventures. So first up, this is one of my latest unlocks, and man, I have never taken much stock in it up until now, and I feel like such a moron. For years, I've been doing Reaper tasks and skipping a lot of those Reaper tasks, and my first port of call is always, and always has been, to grab one of the alchemical hydrixes as soon as I could, and this was for the GP. But I have made an incredible mistake by doing so. There is an unlock for death which I could have been using all of this time, which would have made me not only a lot more money in the long run, as I would have been doing less rerolls, and actually I would have been taking part in more Reaper tasks, because as soon as I get a Reaper task I don't like, I'll be honest, I skip it or I just don't do it. I am talking about the unlock Reaper's Choice. Now, for the last couple of years, I've been visiting Death's office, both recreationally and by accident. And for those who don't know about Reaper's Choice, it is for Reaper tasks offered by Death. Reaper tasks are similar to Slayer tasks, but for bosses, and are randomly assigned to you by Death. Now, there are some bosses I have completed the boss log on, and I would rather not go back and fight them again. There are also bosses that I really want to fight. For example, have I mentioned that I'm taking on Hobo recently? Reaper's Choice gives you a 10% chance to choose your next Reaper task. And when I say 10%, what I actually mean is 50%. You see, you are able to reroll up to 5 times per day for your Reaper task. And each of these rerolls gives you that 10% chance as well. And even then, if you don't want the Reaper task that you've been given, you can come back the next day and reroll all over again. The cost for this ability is 250 Reaper points, and it is absolutely one of the first things that you should be spending your points on. This unlock will allow you to select bosses not only that you feel ready for, but also bosses that you actually want to fight and farm for GP. After you've secured this unlock, by all means, go and grab those lovely Hydrix gems, but for now, your first port of call should absolutely be Reaper's Choice. The second unlock costs absolutely nothing but a bit of elbow grease. I've had this one for quite some time, and I must say it has a massive amount of synergy with Necromancy and its split soul ability, as well as the split soul ability that you have through the Eldritch crossbow. I am of course talking about King Arthur's holy weapon, Excalibur. Excalibur has the ability to heal you for up to 40% of your total health over 40 seconds. Now, Split Soul will take away your ability to heal from things like Soul Split. However, an ability and a mechanic that you get from Excalibur will really go a long way to mitigating the additional damage and the reduced healing that you take whilst under the Split Soul ability. This is also an ability that is absolutely essential if you want to be saving a lot of space by not bringing quite as much food to when you're bringing it to bosses that you want to save even more space for, especially while you're AFKing. This is going to be absolutely brilliant, and it's super easy to get hold of. To unlock this, all you'll have to do is complete Merlin's Crystal, which is the first quest in its series and has no requirements. After this, if you want the upgraded variants of the Enhanced Excalibur and the Elite Enhanced Excalibur, just complete Seer's Diaries, Hard and Elite. Post-editing Hobo here. Now, as you're aware, I'm growing my channel each week, and I'm looking to bring more content to you by beaming my misfortune directly to your phone. If this is the type of content that you enjoy and want to see more of, don't hang about. Let YouTube know you like my stuff by liking my stuff. If you're somebody who's visited the channel a few times and is one of these, subscribe to my channel, become part of the Rugged team. If you think there's anything that I've missed and that others will benefit from knowing, leave it in the comments section, just so people can learn from our collective misfortune. Anyway, back to the rest of the video. The next unlock is again another freebie GP wise. If you want to deal more damage faster and more effectively, you're going to need the Ring of Vigor. Now, you don't only need the Ring of Vigor, you also need it to be a passive Ring of Vigor. It means that you can keep better rings equipped on you at all times, such as the Ring of Death, a Reaver's Ring, or even a Luck of the Dwarves. This ring will give you free adrenaline by refunding you 10% of your adrenaline after you've used an ultimate ability. This is a must if you're looking to boost your damage, especially when learning to boss. And it means that you can also fiddle around by doing different damage rotations and things like this. Now, in terms of cost, it's going to cost you 50,000 Dungeoneering tokens, which is chump change. And after this, you're going to want to complete the Extinction quest, which was released back in April 2022. And with this, after that, you don't have to equip it. You don't need to think about it. It doesn't even take space in your bank. All you need to do is go to your boss and you will start benefiting from that free 10% additional adrenaline. So don't hang about, get your free adrenaline today. Next up on the list is one of my absolute favourites. Now, I was someone who had to continue working during the release of Archaeology, so I didn't have the same level of engagement a lot of other people did because I was considered a key worker during COVID. Now, because of this, it took me a long time to get to grips with the benefits of using relics. A good relic setup is something that's going to save you a massive headache and it will benefit your damage potential massively. Now, as I've said previously, the key to a good damage rotation is to have an abundance of adrenaline constantly. This will allow you to effectively use your special attacks much faster. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you through the relic setup that I have in my everyday setup. The relics that I'm going to talk to you about next will help you have even more adrenaline, so you can be spending adrenaline like it's coming out of your hoo-has. Now, first relic is effectively the relic version of the Ring of Vigor. It's called the Conservation of Energy. So again, every time that you use an ultimate ability, you'll be refunded 10% adrenaline. And one of the best things about this is it does actually stack with the Ring of Vigor. This means that at the end of every single ultimate that you use, you will have 20% adrenaline ready to go, which means that with a well-timed renewal potion or an adrenaline renewal potion, you will be able to use effectively a special attack pretty much immediately. My next preference for a relic is the Fury of the Small. Now, this relic is absolutely fantastic. After you use a basic ability, so for example, if you were to use Necromancy for this, you'll be looking at Touch of Death and Soul Sap. You are then granted an additional 1% adrenaline. This really does stack up over time, and it will help you be able to use better rotations much quicker once you have this relic. My last relic that I tend to use is the Persistent Rage relic. Now, this is one of my favourite relics because not only is it a convenience relic, which means that when I'm AFKing at, let's say, for example, Archglacior, I'm able to use this relic to build up to 100% adrenaline at the end of every kill. But also on top of that, I found that when I'm running through things like elite dungeons, as I'm running without using any abilities, again, my adrenaline will start to creep up so that when I hit the next dragon or I hit the next undead minion, I've got a little bit extra in the tank ready to go. This for me is the perfect trifecta. I could use other relics that like Berserker's Fury, which will give me a little bit more damage, but for me, I found that this gives me the perfect damage boost as well as having that perfect level of convenience. The next PVM unlock that I'm going to talk to you about is a very easy one to obtain with just a little bit of time. That is, of course, the Aura Vampirism. This unlock can be bought from War at War's Wares for 5,000 marks of war, which is probably the simplest way to obtain it. This aura will heal you for 5% of the damage you deal up to 50 HP per hit. This is great for when you're doing lots and lots of attacks at any one period of time, and it also stacks with things like your Ghost Conjures, as well as Excalibur, and also with Soul Split. This is a must if you're learning a boss for the very first time. Speaking of the Ghost, what can the Ghost do? Well, it will heal for 140% of the damage that it deals. This is another fantastic addition to your arsenal if you're looking to AFK a boss specifically without food. Take, for example, Archglacior. I am able to AFK him indefinitely without any familiars, without any food, without any potions, and without any auras. This ghost is absolutely phenomenal. You can unlock him at level 40 Necromancy, and you can upgrade his duration through the Well of Souls. So the next set of unlocks that I'm talking about are a little bit ironic in nature, and that's because they heal you, but at a reduced amount compared to everything else. I'm of course talking about Saradomin Brews as well as Blubbers. Now, Blubbers and Saradomin Brews are effectively heals that do not detract from your adrenaline. So if you were to use a Rocktail mid-fight, you would then find that your adrenaline level goes down every time you eat one. That is not the case for Blue Blubbers. And if you're using things like Vampirism and Split Soul, it means that if you do higher damage and you do more damage, specifically through things like special attacks and stuff like that, it means that you can do more damage, which means that when you use Vampirism, it means more heals. Okay, so it's a little bit ironic, but I would definitely advise it because it will help to buff and give you a much better damage rotation when you're fighting bosses. These are some of the key PVM unlocks that I use every single day. Now, again, if you think that there's anything that I've missed, leave it down in the comments. Also, if this is the content that you like, drop a like, subscribe to my channel, and join the rugged team. But aside from that, this is the end of the video, so thank you very much for following along, and if you want to, catch me in my next RuneScape misadventure. Happy scaping.